What's up? I'm heading out fishing, so I figured I got 20-30 minutes to burn. Tell a quick story. Now, I was thinking about it. Like, I kind of think of a story that I never told. And I've told most of them, just, but there was a part of my life that I never really talk about much. Not sure why. I guess I didn't think it was that remarkable. But then I started thinking about it, and I'm like, actually, it is pretty remarkable. It's a good story. So, well, I lived with my grandparents, Toko, at Grosse Pointe until I was, I don't know, about 9, maybe 10. I don't know, something like that. 11. I don't know. And then I moved. My mother and my sister, my mom moved us into this flat. It was like the story's kind of like Huck Finn stuff. To give you an idea, like, it's a little bit outsider-ish, like, this, you'll see. It's funny and entertaining. She moved us into this crappy little house. By the way, I just saw a bunch of dudes on dirt bikes. I thought that was pretty cool. They're all like driving Enduros, like the one I got. And they're all like just ripping around the country. I'm out in the middle of nowhere. Thought it's pretty cool. But yeah, where I lived was kind of like a high-end neighborhood because it was right on the water on Lake St. Clair. But our little crappy flat was like one house divided into 3 units, and it was a dump. We were poor. My mother was on welfare, so she was a substitute teacher, but didn't make any money. She only worked like maybe a day a week at most. So we were pretty poor off, bad, on welfare. We were living bad. My mother was mentally ill, and she just wasn't there. All medicated out, sleeping all day. So I really got to do whatever I wanted. There was no like structure of anything. My dad would pick me up every other weekend, or even sometimes every weekend, and take me fishing, and we'd go out and do stuff. But that was it. Like, and he didn't really care about raising me. He didn't, instill morals and values or ethics or behavior, nothing. He'd just take me fishing, and he was kind of a hard ass, and barely fed me, and then he'd drop me off and say, see you in a couple weeks. He did take me camping, though, about 3-4 times a year for like 5 to 7 days. Because of that, I did poor in school because I missed a whole week's worth of work, and they wanted me to catch up, and I'd never catch up, so I'd fall behind, and it sucked. But whatever, I liked camping. I loved it. We go like remote, rustic camping in the wilderness, and that was a good time. But what made this interesting there is like my best friend was a dude named Tim. There was 3 brothers, Jeff, Tim, and Jason. Jason was like a year younger than me. Tim was a year older than me, and Jeff was the older one, who was about 2 or 3 years older. They were all good-looking kids. Jeff was kind of a real good-looking kid. He was kind of a tough guy, muscular. Tim was, they called him Bear because he was so big. But he wasn't like a fat big. He was just tall and big. And he was an oddball because he's like, had real dark skin, white kid, but the dark skin, and he was real tall. Well, the other 2 were blonde, so his mother might have been like, ah. But, I don't know, Tim, if you ever watched this, because those guys do watch some of these. I love you, bro. He was my best friend, and we got in lots of trouble together and did a lot of fun stuff. No major trouble, but there was a kid named John who lived a couple doors away. I became close with him. He died after he got the COVID shot. Like 3 days after he took the shot, he died in bed of a heart attack. And he was a nurse. He lived a couple doors down, so he was part of the crew. There was these 2 girls that lived directly across the street from me, the Watts sisters, and I still talk to her all the time, the one. And she brings up all these old stories, and she was, I don't think she personally was really familiar with the fact that my family was tied to the mafia, but her mother did, and that's because her mother talked to my mother. They were friends. Even though my mother was out of it most of the time, there were moments of lucidity. And so this woman named Barb, God rest her soul, she had a stroke. And then their father named Archie, these 2, they're good-looking girls. Like, one was blonde and one was kind of a redhead, but real pretty. My friend Carl ended up dating her for years. I think he married her. He might still be married to her. I don't know. But they lived across the street, and they had this, I won't say a big house. It was like a single-story house, but it was spread out pretty big. Nothing fancy, What made it big was it had a breezeway that was attached to the house, and then attached to the breezeway was a 3-car garage. No idea why they had such a big garage. But I do remember this, that Carl's father kept his Goldwing Mercedes in there. And we used to go in there and get drunk because we'd steal liquor from Archie, really, and the mother. They were drinkers. And they had a refrigerator in the breezeway, so you could sneak in and go in the refrigerator and grab a 2-liter, and then we just go, rather than go sit in the woods, because I'll tell you about the lake lot, and I'll tell you about the woods in a second. We would go into their garage and get drunk. Like, we just go to like the third garage down or the second garage down where they couldn't hear us. Be in there giggling and laughing, getting drunk. There's always beer or wine coolers. That's what they drank. That's what we stole. I'm sure they're always like, "Where's the wine coolers we have? Didn't we have a 2-liter? We just now we're like 12 years old. I'm 12, so Tim would have been like 13 and a half. Most of the time was with Tim, but Johnny could have been there. Jay might have been there. Jeff might have been there. Jeff, the older one, he was close to a guy named Carl. And when I was talking about the Goldwing Mercedes, Carl was a dude who was about 16 at the time. Older, but he still hung around us though. He liked us. He was like a tough kid. In fact, one dude was trying to bully me, a dude named Billy something or other. He ended up getting killed in a motorcycle crash. But he was bullying, and he was older than me, he was bigger than me, and he was a known tough guy, and he just was like messing with me, like wouldn't let me drive my bike, wouldn't let me leave, like punking me out. And I didn't want to fight him. I get my ass kicked. Carl comes walking up while this is doing, and Carl just wham and punches him in the face, cracks him. He's like, leave the kid alone. It's my boy, whatever. And that dude never bothered me again. Billy something or another. He was driving a dirt bike on the side of the road and got plowed. But anyways, his father, Carl's father, the one who punched the dude in the face, was an anesthesiologist. So they had a beautiful house on the water, like maybe a 2 to 3 acre lot. Big huge front yard, big huge backyard. They had a big giant pole barn in the back filled with snowmobiles and all kinds of stuff, right? They were rich. His dad, made the modern day equivalent of like $400,000 a year or something. So they were doing good. But usually me and Tim would get into some trouble. So next to Tim's house, they lived down the block. All these people, by the way, lived on this like almost rural road. Like there's nothing there, just a little road that goes for about a mile off the main like city. And all these big houses on the water, and a lot of them had woods in the front, and there was a wooded lot called Lake Lot. And Lake Lot was our hangout. That was our world. This is where we hung out. Like, this was straight Huck Finn, man. We did everything in there. BB gun wars, firecracker wars, bottle rockets wars, and build forts. We built so many forts in there. We built a bike track, like a racing track. I mean, like, with like a pit. So when you hit this jump, if you didn't clear this hole, you're gonna crash down. And I saw people crash in it too. I remember the first person who ever did it, I think it was Johnny. And he's like, "Oh, do what I can do." And I knew he wasn't good on the bike. I'm like, he's never gonna beat it. So he's riding, but he slows down. I'm like, this is it. I watched him just go straight down in the hole, don't nosedive, flip over the handlebars, starts crying. I'm just like, anyways, we had an awesome bike racetrack through the woods. It was about a 3 acre lot, I'm guessing. Could have been 2, I don't know. I'd say 3 acres. It was about 1 acre wide and 3 acres long, and the lake was on the back end of it. There was this bay, Dover Spikes Bay, and we would duck hunt in there with our BB guns. We would kill squirrels in there. We'd trap in there. We'd do everything. And the Dover Spikes lived on the other side of the lake lot, and they didn't really like us. There was a son named Al. He was a douchebag. So at the time, he was like 20, right? Well, they had a trampoline, and we liked to play on the trampoline. So we would go out there and yell. They'd come out and yell at us. Sometimes they wouldn't even say nothing or see us. And there'd be 3 kids on a trampoline. Boing, boing. I learned how to do all kinds of back flips and front flips, and I was the craziest one. Never had any close calls, but I had a friend named Bobby Street who I saw in prison several years ago in a wheelchair because he crashed a motorcycle too. And knocked all his teeth out, and his teeth were still bad. He like, his leg buckled, and he just slam right on the metal. I saw his teeth print right there. Oh, I'll never forget it, man. I was right there on the trampoline, and his knees buckled. He just goes crack, and he jumps up and runs away crying. And I look, and I see pieces of his teeth and the teeth mark imprint in the metal. I'm like, oh, and his teeth were messed up. year. I think he said he got them fixed, but then they got busted up again. Later on, he got older. His name was Bobby Street. I'm still friends with him on Facebook too. Like I've talked to him, but he was from like a crew about a mile away. I liked him though; he was a good dude. Some of his crew I didn't like, and we were beefed out with. Anyways, back to the Dover spikes on the trampoline. This is the outsider stuff, right? We jump on the trampoline, and like the guy Al yells and starts running out there. It's the middle of winter, so it's snow. Like we had to clean all the snow off the trampoline to play in it. And he comes running out, and we all run. And I jump over this like mound of rocks by, because this water, the lake was there, and they have these like busted concrete, big mountain of it to kind of slow the erosion. And I dove over in the snow and I dug down. And then Johnny, he wasn't paying attention. I don't know what his problem is. He didn't look. We all ran, and he stayed there. And the guy catches him. This guy named Al. He grabs him out of gruff. He's shoving him around. And I snapped, bro. I had a switchblade in my pocket. And again, I'm only 12, 13 years old. Maybe 12. And I pull the switchblade out, and I jump up and over the rocks and say, let him go. Guy looks at me. I said, let him go, mother effer. Let him go. And he looked at me like, really, kid? Really? I was like, really? And he let Johnny go. And then we were running across the bay. It was frozen because it was winter, so it was all ice. And we used to go out there on that ice and do some of the stupidest stuff. Snowmobile war. What we would do is tie a toboggan out on the lake, so it's all snow and ice. It's just a flat. We'd tie a toboggan to the snowmobile, and like 2 or 3 of us would get on the toboggan, and the guy driving the snowmobile, his job was to get us fling us off. And he'd get ripping and turn. I would, because there's a rope that goes down the toboggan, so I would twist my hands in there, so I can't even let go if I want. So he'd get ripping, and everybody else would go flying, but I'm sideways in the snow. Snow just blasted me in the face, and I wouldn't let go. Like, they couldn't get me off. They just finally have to give up because the other 2 dudes are back there half a mile away waiting. So we got to go back and get them. They couldn't get me off that snowmobile. I was locked on. Or I would grab the back of the snowmobile, that bar, and they would just drive like 90 miles an hour with me dragging on the ice, the road, whatever. That's how crazy we were. So there was a point when there was something called Park Field, down the road, kind of a quarter mile, if that, eighth of a mile. There was this big like wooded / field, right, on the lake. It was big. It was like 5 acres, right? And we used to go mouse hunting down there. We would go down there with these boards, like plywood. I think Carl put them there just because he knew what to do. And we'd surround the plywood, and then and one would lift it up, and all the mice would go scurrying, and we'd grab them, and we put them in a bucket. Then we'd bring them back to Tim's basement, and we'd make darts out of a shoelace, a little piece of a shoelace, and a pin. And you put it in your BB gun. And so you'd let the mice go, and bah, bah, and they'd be darts sticking out of them. It was a horrible thing to do, horrible, man. It was goofy stuff that kids do. But we caught a lot of mice. And that's where I learned mice will bite you. But that field, eventually, it got sold to some apartment place, and they built a bunch of apartments. While they were building it, because it took like a year or more, it was a whole apartment complex, a couple of years probably. And when they were building it, one of us got the idea. I wouldn't be surprised if it was me. Maybe Jeff, he's older and smarter. Let's go steal a bunch of wood so we can build a badass fort. So we go down there, and the way we did it was we drive the snowmobile down in the winter on the ice, and then there's like a seawall, and you jump over the seawall, and then we go into this place. They didn't have cameras and stuff everywhere back then. There was no cameras, and we would like carry plywood and 2x4s and all this stuff, nails, everything was all there. Because a lot of it was inside. By this point, they were like framed out houses with roofs on them, So we would just get all this wood. And one day, the cops came. So somebody must have saw us or called it. And I think I started a fire in one of them. because I was mad about it. I'm like, I'm gonna burn these mother suckers down, just because we didn't like it. We loved Park Field, and now they got apartments there. So I think I started a fire, and that was like the next time we went in there to steal some wood. Cops came, and that's the first time I ever jumped over a barbed wire fence using my jacket. I might have seen someone do this on TV or in like the A-Team or something, but I just knew what to do. I had this big, thick winter blue jacket, and I ran up to the fence, and I climbed up, threw my jacket over the barbed wire. Then I went up and literally did a flip. You know how you grab it like this and you flip? I did a flip, landed on the other side, grabbed my jacket, yanked it off, probably ripped it, but didn't care, and ran. And the cops were looking for us all over, bro. We like ran down our street, and there's like this ditch. I ended up trying to jump the ditch and didn't make it, and got soaking wet. Like I didn't make it. Just timed it wrong. I jumped the ditch 100 times, but this time I didn't. And anyways, we're laying there like in the bushes, and these cops are driving out, and they were looking directly across the street at these houses that are on the lake, these wealthy houses. One of them we were directly across the street from Tim's house. Carl's house, and the Choruses. They had the biggest, nicest house on the block. These two brothers, they're douchebags. Well, the one was a douchebag, Matt. The younger brother used to beat up on the other brother all the time. But the only thing cool about them is the front of their yard, when it rained or like the snow would melt, it'd turn into a big like water hole. Like it's grass, but then it's all water, filled water, and it's like 50 yards of just water. And if it was warm out, like summer, and it rained like that, we'd all go play football in there. Just go, let's go to the courses and play football. And we played football in this water. It was crashing and splashing and sliding, and it was great. But they were kind of weird, those people. Carl shot their dog. I don't know why. This is how crazy these people were, the people I was around. This guy named Carl, I'm hanging out with him. He's like 4 years older than me. He's got a little Colt, Ford Colt. And he says, get in the car. I'm like, where are we going? He's like, just going. We drive down this little dirt road that goes out to this point. And the Chorus's house was on this side. And they had a big dog kennel with these big, like, what are those like the ones that protect sheep and stuff? Big furry dog. And I guess it was barking too much. So, got on Carl's nerves. So we're driving. I don't know what we're doing. And all of a sudden he pulls up, he rolls down the window, dog's barking, and bang, he shoots the dog. I don't think he killed the dog though. I think he hit it in the leg. And then we took off. But that's how crazy it was. Carl used to blast doves and squirrels and rabbits from his kitchen window while I was there. He'd open the window with a shotgun, bang! And he had a duck blind on the back of his property because he lived in the water. So they had this like going out over the water, all set up with a like perfect setup, a blind, and they would sit there and shoot ducks from their little dock. Crazy. But so we had. I'll tell you another story about the lake lot. So after we build this badass fort, we hooked this fort up, man. We even had wall-to-wall carpet, and I mean it was on the walls. Not sure where we got it. Probably some old carpet. It was kind of yellowish looking, beige. But we hooked it up, man. We had all this plywood and 2x4s and stuff. And like I wasn't a builder, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. But like Jeff and Carl and stuff, they were like, older, and they knew what to do. And we built this badass fort in there with carpet. We had a heater, had like a kerosene heater in it. I think it was awesome. Then we'd bring the girls in there, like the Watts girls, come in there, and we'd all play like strip poker and whatever it was. I got some movies. I got punched in the face for grabbing her boob once. Lisa. She wasn't playing around. She whooped my ass. Honestly, she would have whooped my ass a lot worse if I like grabbed her boob under her, like it was strip poker. She was down to her bra. So I like yanked her bra down and grabbed. I couldn't control myself. I was a little perverted kid. I was just like, boom. And she freaking grabs me in this fort. And she starts wailing on me, right? And I'm not going to fight a girl. And she's a couple years older than me. But there was a window there. And the window had like a piece of wood flap that went down over the window. And it wasn't flat. It wasn't like buttoned down. So it was sticking off the wall a little bit. So I kind of hid behind it. And she's wailing on me, but she's hitting this this flat, bang, bang, bang. And right at that moment, and we were smoking cigarettes in there too. Right at that moment, Tim's dad comes walking up and he opens it, right? So here's a girl with her boob hanging out, whooping my ass, and we're all smoking cigarettes. And I don't know what he said, man. We were all, he basically told us all if we were going to get the hell out of there, you know, because he knew we were smoking and obviously getting booed. But one of the funny things I did in that fort was, you know, you ever seen in the cartoons where they make a like a trap with a stick? It's like a box, and you pull the stick and boom, you get them. I did that from that fort because of the window with the BB gun. And so the birds, we put seed out, they come down there, but you never really hit them. You rarely hit them. I hit them plenty of birds. I killed plenty of birds. Forgive me, Father, I killed way too many birds. Stupid. Why would you kill a bird? But it's just, to me, they were just like moving targets. I didn't have any value for life at the time. It was just like, oh, target, boom. But I killed so many poor birds. But I made this trap. Me and Tim made this trap with the stick and a string. And see out there, and sure enough, man, you know, a bunch of sparrows and stuff, dove would get in there, and you pull the trap, and you get out. Then you can shoot them because they can't go anywhere. So then we just take target practice at them. But our fort was dope. We had a fort in the tree. We had a fort at the point, because Tim and Jeff's and Jay's house had a point that went out into the lake. It was pretty far. It went out there about 100 yards, 150 yards. It was all these big willow trees. A whole line of these big willow trees. And the squirrels lived in the holes in those willow trees. And man, we killed so many squirrels. Maybe not that many, but we tried to. We shot so many squirrels. Those squirrels were so smart. If we stepped foot outside, they'd go running into those holes. We'd just be sitting there waiting. They would never come out. Then you'd see them, because there was a tree right behind Tim's house that had a certain type of seed. I can't say what it was, but it had these seeds, and the squirrels loved it. So we'd be looking out the window and see squirrels. If you open the door while even a crack, the squirrel's gone. And we would get squirrels once in a while, because squirrels are super tough. Most people don't know how tough they are. I mean, they're just incredibly tough. The skin is like leather. They're very tough and resilient. So you'd shoot them, you get them in the tree and you shoot them, and they would jump out of the tree, like from 50, 60 feet up. If you hit them, bang, they would just jump. Poor squirrels, and they'd boom, they'd run off. And there's a few times where I shot squirrels and killed them with a headshot, and but I didn't waste them. I ate them. You know what I'm saying? I like squirrels. Squirrels are really good eating. And so I'd clean the squirrel, and I'd find like rusted BBs under the skin. So it was squirrel hunting was no joke. But I got bit by a squirrel one time over there. We had the squirrel surrounded in the tree, and my boy Carl, the older kid, had his dog named Chester. He's a hunting dog. And we're shooting at this big squirrel in this like big oak tree in front of his house, and we shoot it, and it comes flopping out, right? So I think we got it. It's dead, but you never know. So I run up and put my foot up on it, like step on it, you know, to make sure it can't run. And that thing's head came up, wham! It just bit my foot. I was wearing a white leather Nike. And that thing bit straight through my shoe and into my foot. And I kicked it. I kicked it off me and flung it. And the dog was right there. So it was like, I kicked it right to the dog, and the dog grabbed it and killed it. But this is all horrible stuff, and I feel bad about it. You know, if you're going to hunt squirrels, you know, use a 22. You shoot them in the head or the chest, it's over. They don't go nowhere. I've wounded a couple over the years when I was squirrel hunting, when I was before prison. But most of the time you get them, you know, shoot them center mass, bang, they're dead. They fall right out dead. But not only, I did wound a couple and even I lost one. But with a 22. Back to the fort though, right? So our fort was like, we found a stash of Playboy books. I'm not glamorizing this at all. I'm just telling you the truth. We found a stash of Playboy books at the park field along this fence. And so we kept them, you know, we're little perverted boys. You know, we'd go in our fort, look at them, and then I had a pair of binoculars in there, and I had a camouflage army jacket my dad bought me from an army surplus store. So it was a legitimate, like, army, camouflage army jacket. It was badass, you know. It still had, like, the name of the guy on it, you know what I'm saying? So, anyways, I had it in there. And then this crew guys came from another neighborhood, right? And I'm not even sure how we figured out it was them. I guess we just knew, man. They're the only other crew that knew we were back there with a Ford. The only ones who had a bike trail back there. So it was like Bobby Street's crew. But Bobby Street was mad cool. But the other guys were douchebags, punks. So I have all this stuff in there, Playboy stuff. I don't care about that really, but my jacket and my binoculars. My dad gave me these binoculars. And they ended up going in there and they smashed my binoculars, like bust the glass out of it, smash them up like a hammer or something. And they steal the Playboys and my camouflage jacket. Well, word got back to me that this one dude had my jacket, right? And I was mad. I want to beat his ass. No, I wasn't like a tough guy or nothing like that at the time. But I'm like, dude, I'm going to beat this guy's ass. And I tell his friends, I said, dude, when I see him, I'm beating his ass. I'm telling everybody, when I see him, I'm beating his ass. I see him, I'm beating his ass. And eventually, we're at Tim's house chilling, I think playing basketball in the driveway. And here comes this whole crew walking up, 6, 7 of them, right? Most of them are a little bit older. The kid who I think stole my jacket and broke my glasses, he's about my age. But I didn't go to their school, so I don't know these guys. Because the city line where the schools are divided are right there. I was on one side of the road, I went to this school. They were on that side of the school, I went to that school, like it was grade school, you know. I went to Graham, I went to Tenniswood, and they went to Yaks. I don't know them that well, but I know I want to beat this kid's ass. So here he comes down the driveway. And I guess they geeked him up to fight. They probably were, you could tell they geeked him up. Like, you can win. This kid couldn't win, man. And so, like I said, I wasn't a tough guy. I couldn't fight that good. I was a little skinny, scrawny kid, man. You know, at the time I was 100 pounds. You know, and but he comes walking up, and they got him all geeked up to fight, and he's like, "What's up? You want to beat my ass? You ain't gonna beat my." And so we start fighting, right? And there's like, I got all my boys, he got all their boys, and it's a one-on-one fight. And we're fighting and rolling around, and he's kind of got me down, and I'm covering my head. He throws a few punches or whatever, and in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, yeah, get tired. Tire yourself out trying to hurt me, because you're not gonna. He was just going crazy, bang, 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 trying to hurt me. He wasn't. He's just hurting his fist more than anything. He's hit me in the back of the head. So I let him wear himself out, and then he gets off me, and I beat his ass. I stomp him out. Finally, his boys, you know, stopped me. They're like, all right, man, enough. Yeah, that's how we did it back then. There's so many funny stories. There was a guy named, what was his name? Oh, I can't think of his name. It sucks. But he was what's his name? It's a funny name. But he lived at the point next to the Course's house. And he had a snowmobile, just got a snowmobile. And nice enough guy. And I said, can I drive your snowmobile? And he said, yeah. Oh, geez, I don't even want to talk about that. Well, it wasn't a good story, but yeah, I did fall through the ice though one time there. I was walking on the ice and bloop, went straight down to my neck. Luckily, it wasn't too deep. That scared the crap out of me. Falling through the ice in the lake. You know, it wasn't the lake; it was a canal connected to the lake. But still, I mean, it'd freak you out. But I pulled myself out of there and ran home. There's a dude named Mike Ziggy, and he was standing right there. He thought it was funny as hell. But he had warned me, don't go on that ice. The ice is rotten. I'm like, ah. Another time, years later, when I was older, in the same area, I was driving a snowmobile with my friend on the back, and I was driving in front of the spillway, which is like a canal that dumps out, but it's got current. And these fishermen, ice fishermen, are going, no, but I didn't see it until they're going, no. And Brian's in the back, and he goes, go. I look back, and the ice is breaking underneath the back of the snowmobile. Like, it's underwater. We're in water. And it's going, and I gun it, flying, rooster tail water, barely made it out of there in the nick of time. But I made it, you know. So yeah, that's a part of my life I don't share too often. I never shared that. But it's funny that I lived like, I caught a muskrat with my bare hands one time. I knew he went into this hole, so I just waited. It was a young one, it wasn't a full-grown one. And so I just waited and waited and waited until a muskrat came out of the hole. And I grabbed it. But then it tried to bite me, so I said, you know what? I'll let him go. I shot so much stuff there. Rabbits and squirrels. And yeah, man, that's part of the reason why I am such an outdoorsman today. Because I had those years in that place. And it wasn't a long time. It felt like a long time to me, but it was only like 3 years. For anyone who's ever heard me tell the story about how I wanted to buy the mini bike, and my uncle told me to get the Jerry Lewis charity cans and shake it and then collect the money and keep the money. That's where I was living at the time. So when I ended up getting one of those cans and I stood in front of the makes me feel bad because the 7-Eleven there, when my mother had a nervous breakdown, a mental episode, nervous breakdown, she had one of my baseball trophies and she was up in front of the 7-Eleven telling everybody this. I don't remember this, but Lisa, the girl from across the street, told me. She was up there telling everybody that I was a king, I was born to be famous, and da-da-da, and she was out of her mind. They ended up locking her up in a mental institution. But that's where I got the Jerry Lewis can from that 7-Eleven there. And I sat there for a couple hours and only made like $10. I'm like, this ain't gonna cut it, man. I need 100 trying to get this mini bike. And that's when I got it in my head to jump on my, my uncle got it in my head, the whole thing. But when I got it in my head to drive all the way to, Kmart, which is like 7-8 miles away, easy 7-8 miles. 12 years old on a pedal bike, driving 7-8 miles one way with the Jerry Lewis can, and I sat in front of that Kmart for 4 hours, 5 hours, and I filled like 3-4 cans of money and dumped it in a bag and tied the bag to my handlebars. A couple bags, double bagged it, and I made, I think, $120, might have been $140, but I had more than enough to buy the mini bike, and I bought it, and I had that mini bike for a while until the cops took it away from me. They didn't take it away; they just told me you can't get caught riding it again, or we're going to take it. He made me walk it home. I'll never forget the cop. It was this heavy-set, kind of fat cop. He wasn't that friendly, but he turned out to be a really cool cop. Years later, when he knew me, years later, but I'd seen him over the years. So fast forward 5-6 years, right? He's still there. Now I'm a grown man and a drug dealer, and a known drug dealer, and a thug. And he would bust me. He would pull me over and let me go. He'd give me warnings. But anyways, he made me drive my mini bike home, push it home, and just told my dad he can't be out here driving on the sidewalk, ripping down the block with a mini bike. You know what I'm saying? So now I can only drive it when I went up north to see my grandparents in St. Helens, Michigan, a couple times a year. It sucked, man. I love my mini bike. But that cop one time, I was at my girlfriend's party. My girlfriend was having a party. She wasn't my girlfriend yet, yes, but the girl who would become my girlfriend for 13 years. She was having a party, and it was a big party. It was a bash, and the cops come. My boys got in a fight with my girl. Originally, she had just moved from East Detroit. We're in St. Clair Shores, so stupidly, she has a party, and her brothers, who are older and douchebags and kind of thuggish, ruggish, invite all their boys. Now, my crew and Lakeshore crew and the East Detroit crew, they clashed. There was this dude named Jason Grimby who punched my friend Chris Shatino in the mouth, knocked his tooth out, right in front of me, right next to me. I'm talking to my future girlfriend, and all of a sudden, all I see is this dude go, bang, bang, 2 quick punches, knocks his tooth out, and he goes down. And all hell breaks loose. Everybody's fighting, and it was chaos, pandemonium. And this created a beef that, not joking, is still standing to this day between East Detroit and St. Clair Shores or Lakeshore. To this day, they hate each other. They're for years. They stopped even playing each other in sports because the rival was so bad. It would always be brawls would fight. Didn't matter if it was a basketball game, football game. Big brawls would break out. It was like that for years. So they for like 5 years they didn't play. But even to this day, Lakeshore hates East Detroit, and East Detroit, it's just one of those legendary beefs that just keeps going. And but that cop, when I was walking out from the party, when the cops finally came and busted the party, I had a beer in my hand. That's how stupid I was. The cop is in the basement directing traffic, telling people, let's go, let's go, let's go. You know, and everybody, normal people were, dumping their beers and leaving them. I come walking out. I'm all dressed up too. I got a beer in my hand, and I'm walking right by him. And I know he's gonna notice me. I know he's gonna know my name. He goes, Limlum, what are you doing? No, man, what? He's like, what do you think you're doing? What do you mean what am I thinking? He points at the beer. What do you do with that? I said, I'm drinking it. He goes, dump it out. I'm like, you serious? Can't even finish it? Drunk. I'm like 16 years old and drunk. And he said no, you know. So I had to dump it out. There was another time I was at a party with another big party, they broke up, and I had some drugs on me. And when there was like 50 people packed in this house, and we hear the cops bang, 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 bang. So everybody gets quiet, and it didn't matter. Like, open up, we know you're in there, da, da, da. I look at this girl and said, do me a favor, hold this dope for me. And she's like, why? I'm like, just hold it. And that girl I'm still friends with. In fact, she came up to see me a few years ago with me and Maria. But I'm not gonna say her name, but she, I handed to her and say, hold that. And she did, like a trooper. When I walk outside, they're letting everybody go. The cop looks at me. One of the cops looks at me and says, you, Limblum, come here. What's up? I'm all dressed up. I got a trench coat on. I look like a little gangster. And I'm like, what's up? I got funny pictures of like me at that stage in my life with a trench coat. He's like, what are you doing? What's up with you? And he starts like patting me down. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm not doing nothing. Whatever. He's like, what are you doing here? I'm like, it's a freaking party, man. There's 100 people here. Why are you frisking me? He starts patting me down. He finds a big knot of money. I mean, it's this thick. It's not even that much. It's like $800, you know? But it's all 5s and 10s and 20s, like, you know, from selling bags of weed. He's like, what's this for? I'm like, nothing. I've been working. He's like, you work where? I'm like, I lied. And then I said, plus it was my birthday. My mom gave it to me. And he's like, uh-huh, sure, pal. There's some, I could go on and on and on about stories about that. One more quick one. One was, I was having this kid named Junior who turned out to be a douchebag. He had, I was having him drive me to my girl's house because my car was so hot and the cops knew I had a suspended license and I just couldn't drive my car. It was black with tinted windows, rims. I got pulled over as soon as I pulled out of the driveway. So I said, he came over to buy a bag and I said, here, you know, here's your bag. Do me a favor, drop me off at Ramona's. He said, yeah, okay, because he only lived on the next block from her. So coming down the block, he's got this big, massive kicker in the back, 15-inch kicker. He's in a Chevette, which is a crappy little car. It's not even a nice Chevette. It's a hoopty. And he's got this kick, boom, 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 boom. It's just pounding, right? So we're coming down the block, and I go, turn it down, turn it down. There were 2 cops parked on the side of the road in front of some house. And as we drove by, they were on the porch, and one of the cop ran to his car and like jumps. I see him getting in his car. I'm like, oh, you couldn't really see because the kicker was so big. But I'm like, dude, and I grabbed I had a bag. I had an ounce of I had a quarter pound of Ace, all Ace of weed, you know, $30 bags. And I open the glove box and I shove it behind the glove box and shut it. So like if you open the glove box, it won't fall. You can't see it. But if you reach back there. So I look at him, I said, bro, I got to put it. He's like, all right, whatever. He pulls us over, tells Junior, give me your license. The other cop walks up to my door and says, Limblum, what are you doing with this guy? Now, the kid I was with was such a punk that he had a hat on that said, F the police, you know, like NWA song. It said, F the police real big all the way around. F the police. And he's wearing it. And the cops pull him over. And the cop says, what are you doing with this guy? You ain't friends with this guy. I'm like, yeah, I know him. He lives the next block from my girl. He's driving my girl. I said, where are you going? I said, to my girl's house right there. You know, the house is right there. Well, it was right there, like 5 houses away. And he said, step out of the car. So he steps out of the car and starts going, what are you doing with this guy, man? I said, nothing. He's giving me a ride to my girlfriend's house. I'm going on a date with my girl. What the hell, man? Can I go? He's like, hold on a second. So he starts frisking me. And he finds a big knot of money, like always, you know. And what's this? I lie, tell him I'm working or whatever. He's like, uh-huh, sure. And so The junior was getting arrested because his license was suspended for something. I don't know what he did, so he's getting arrested. So I'm standing, I'm like, listen, man, can I go? My girlfriend's waiting for me. She's right there in the window watching us. And you can see her in the window. And they look at each other and they look at you. They searched the car, bro. Like I was on the lawn, they were tearing the car apart. But not at first before I left. But, you know, they kind of looked around. But then I said, can I go? And they said, you know, he's not being charged with anything. He doesn't have any warrants, you know, let him go. So I scurry over to my girlfriend's house and I'm out the window looking, I'm looking, and I'm watching. And they are tearing that car apart, man. I'm like, they're going to find that. I'm like, how can they not find that? And they were in there for like 45 minutes. There was like 5 cops, a couple more cops pulled up, and they're all in it. I was like, oh. So they can't do nothing. And I'm sure they found the weed. But they knew, since they had let me go, I'm sure they put two together. They found the weed. They said, I'm sure they knew it was mine, but they had let me go, and there's no way to prove that it's not his. So they just said, you know what? Let's let him have the weed, and then we'll follow him to see what he does. That was my theory. So he goes and gets his car out of impound like a couple days later, and he comes over my house. The kid junior is very scared. He's very scared of me. And he pulls up my driveway, and I jump in the car, and I said, what happened, bro? What happened? And he's like, it's in there. And I'm like, what? It's still there? They didn't find it? He's like, it's right there. He's like, when I opened the glove box, I could see the bag hanging down. Like the half the baggy part was just dangling. That's how it was when I found it. I haven't touched it. And I'm like, I'm looking around going, bro, these cops got you freaking on a wire, man. These guys are surveillance, in my mind, but it probably wasn't. They might have followed him a little bit at first to see what he did. But he didn't come to my house right away. He like waited like a day and a half. So they might have followed him and like, you know, who knows what they thought. But anyways, he gave me my quarter pound of weed back. Didn't even touch none. So I gave him, I think, a ½ ounce. I said, man, this is for being honest and being a good dude. And he's like, oh, I'm getting out of here. I'm going up north. He had family, had property way up north. He goes, I'm going up there, man. I'm going to stay the rest of the summer up there with my dad, my family. I'm out of here. I'm like, well, here's a ½ ounce, man. Enjoy yourself. And God bless it. But yeah, my childhood. Anyway, I'm going fishing. I'm here. I'm out.